It's me, MLB. Here's part 2 of day 2. Shoji x female listener. Enjoy. Shoji, age 10, had gone over to your house to ask you to come and play, and your mum had said that you were up in your room and that he could go up and get you. Happily, he had run up the stairs and knocked on your door. Yin? Hey, Yin, let's go play, he called, but you hadn't replied to him, so he tried again. Yin, I'm coming in if you don't answer me, he said as he knocked on the door again. When silence had replied to him a second time, he knocked once more and then slowly turned your door handle and pushed the door open. Your room was void of you, personally, but instead it was filled with every type of sticky tape, fabric, chopped up balloons, string. What on earth is all this? He thought as he looked around. What was she making? He stood there for a second, looking at the carnage, and then it suddenly clicked. A few days prior to this, you and he had been playing in the neighbourhood and had run to the top of a big hill at the end of the street. The road dropped steeply at the end and sloped down to a T intersection at the bottom. Geez, this would be a great place to learn to fly from, right? You, also a 10-year-old at the time, had said to him. Fly? He asked. Yeah, you replied enthusiastically. See, you get onto something like a skateboard and then zoom down this hill with wings strapped to you, and when you get to the bottom of the hill, the skateboard will run into this barrier there, you said, pointing to the barrier at the end. And then you just jump the barrier and open your wings and off you fly, see? Out over the trees, the gully, perfect! Shoji had looked out to where you were pointing, and yes, it was true, there were trees and a gully out over the barrier, but he didn't see the same potential in flight that you obviously saw. That's not a good idea, Yin, he said to you. You could get really hurt. It's okay, I have a pain relief quirk, you had replied to him with a smile. Hurt doesn't bother me. Please don't, he had said to you. Now back to him standing in your room with all the bits and pieces necessary for makeshift flight, and it looked like you had ignored his please don't and instead gone with please do. With sudden panic, Shoji had bolted out of your room and tore back down the stairs to get your mum. He had a real bad feeling about this. You weren't sure how long time had passed when you finally became conscious. You're in a tree and your body felt really weird. What happened? You thought, as you tried to lift your head to look around but couldn't. I'm alive, though, you added in thought, as you blinked and tried to move again, but the sudden debilitating pain stopped you. Oh, wow, time to quirk up, you thought, as you activated your quirk, but the pain was still there. Okay, again, you thought, quirking yourself again. The pain felt a little better, but not a heap, so you quirked again. Having gone 3 rounds in quick succession, you were then able to lift your head properly and look around, and that's when you saw your left arm sticking out at a strange angle, and your right leg was hanging limp with something sticking out through the skin. What is that? You thought, as you tried to bend to touch it with your right hand, but had to quirk yourself twice more before you could bend enough to touch the thing sticking out of your leg. It was your own tibia. You had shattered your leg bone, and it had pierced through your skin. Oh, that's not good, you thought, as you quirked yourself yet again to stop from passing out from the pain. You turned your head and looked to see where you were. Then you were just a few inches from the ground, but thankfully you'd been caught in a fallen tree. Otherwise you may have hit the ground instead. Not that this appeared to have helped lessen your injuries any. The tree hadn't done a great job of breaking your fall. Ouch, you thought as you quirked again. How do I get out of here with a broken leg and a broken arm? It was another 20 minutes before you heard sirens that appeared to be getting closer to where you were, and you waited and listened, occasionally quirking yourself to numb the pain. Yin? You heard the voice of Shoji calling for you, and you tried to reply, but your voice had become quite feeble by then. Shoji, I'm here, you spoke in your mind. Yin? You heard him call again. I'm here, you said again internally, your eyelids feeling heavy as you quirked yourself twice more. You could hear him calling to you, and you tried to reply, but mostly you were replying to him in your mind, since your mouth refused to move. It felt like ages after that you finally heard him right beside you, and you opened an eye to see if he was really there. He was, with tears streaming down his face as he reached out to place a gentle hand on your cheek. Yin, what happened? What did you do? He asked you. You tried to smile at him, but nothing showed on your face. You were slowly slipping unconscious. The paramedics finally caught up with Shoji and started to delicately lift you from the tree branches. Careful, she could have spinal injuries, you heard one say. She's a mess, the other said. Look at her skin. What happened? Skin? You thought as you tried to quirk again. What do they mean, skin? Oh no, am I getting that thing again? You suddenly panicked. That thing that I get if I overuse my quirk. I guess I have used it a whole heap. Oh no, did Shoji see? All of this was thought, though, since your body was now completely limp and immobile, and your eyes were rolling in your head. You were not a well girl at that point. Poor Shoji was mortified as he watched the paramedics carry you to the stretcher and then place you down on it. He had never seen you look like this before. Across your skin were giant red veins that blossomed into deep blue splotches. Your hair had turned white in patches, and the sclera of your eye had turned completely black. You looked like you'd been poisoned. Will she be okay? Shoji asked the paramedics as they lifted you onto the stretcher and carried you back to the waiting ambulance van. Not sure, kiddo, but we'll do our best to help her, one of the paramedics said, giving Shoji his best smile. What was she doing? She's got stuff taped all over her, he added as he looked at your mangled form on the stretcher. I think she was trying to fly, Shoji said sadly as he trailed behind. I should have watched her more closely. I told her not to do it. The skateboard at the end of the street gave me the clue to look here somewhere for her. Ah, does she have a quirk? The paramedic asked. Yes, it's a pain relief one, Shoji added. Okay, makes sense as to why she's still semi-conscious, he mused. You're a tough one, aren't you? He said, when he noted that you had opened an eye and appeared to be keeping an eye on your surroundings. You tried to give him a smile, but you couldn't, and that's when you completely blacked out. When you woke in hospital, your mum and Shoji were both there. You had broken both your radius and ulnar in your left arm, dislocated your left shoulder, broken your tibia in your right leg, broken 4 ribs on the right side, busted your collarbone on the right too, and if that wasn't enough, you also sustained a heavy concussion, which had a little swelling around the brain, and they were monitoring you for that. You'd been placed in a joint room with 2 other kids in the hospital, and they were both petrified of you because of how your skin looked. After you'd been told why you were there, you then asked why the 2 other kids in the room were hiding from you. Dear, you've overdone your quirk, your mum said to you, handing you a small mirror from her handbag. You took it and looked into it, almost dropping the mirror in fright when you saw the deranged figure staring back at you. Your sclera was all black, clumps of white hair were falling across your face, and your skin was terribly mottled and horrific looking, making you look like some kind of deranged zombie or like you had some kind of disease. You looked like a freak, which is unfortunately where you'd gotten that terrible nickname from. One of the girls from your class, one of the nasty ones, had come to visit her brother later that day in hospital, and her brother just so happened to be sharing your room. She had seen you there and reported back to our other horrible friends that you were actually a freak. She said that she had seen you in your true form, as she called it, and that's when the bullying had really intensified. Oh dear, not good. Stay tuned for next week, part 3. I'll see you then.